Why is it that potatoes only get Hasselback? Why is it potatoes only get stuffed? Why can't we do that with a butternut squash? Butternut squash are high in vitamin A and C. They're great for magnesium, calcium, and potassium. They're high in beta-carotene, high in fiber, low in calories. We need to start giving some love to some other vegetables besides our potatoes. So whether you're single or a big family, I'm actually going to show you 2 different ways to use your butternut squash, whether it's at the holidays or Tuesday night. These are going to be starch solution friendly. You're going to love them. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Vicki-Lynne here. So glad you could join me today. I have butternut squash 2 different ways. So I love Hasselback potatoes, and I was thinking, why can't we do that with butternut squash? Wouldn't that look amazing on the table, say for Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other holiday? And I was recently in Puerto Rico, and they stuffed avocados with beans and rice and whatever else and all these other delicious things. And I was like, that would be so good with a butternut squash. So I'm going to show you butternut squash today 2 different ways. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start prepping our butternut squash. So we're going to want to take off the hard end. This is probably the hardest part of the whole recipe, is prepping the squash, because we know how difficult it can be. So mine's pretty well standing. If it's not, cut off the bottom part and you want to go down the middle. Now, if you find that your butternut squash is still hard, you can always put it in the microwave for about a minute or so. This one is actually being very nice today for me. So there we go. So 1/2 I'm going to stuff and 1/2 I'm going to Hasselback. So if you're single, you're getting a 2-fer. And if you're a family, you're getting 2 recipes for the price of 1 today. And you can just obviously double, duplicate, buy extra, you know. So we're going to take out the seeds. Now you can roast these seeds. Just take them out, clean them, put them on a different pan, roast them. So you should have your oven preheated to 400 degrees. I have a cooking sheet right here with a silpat on it. You could do a silpat, parchment paper. You will probably want to put something on it just because we're going to cook these upside down. So that's the one that's going to be our Hasselback. This is going to be the one that we're going to stuff. So let me know some of the other vegetables that you like cooking all the time that seem to not get the love that they need. Because I just don't think that butternut squash gets the love that it needs. It's a great vegetable. It can go into so many different things. Sort of like the sweet potato. I mean, you could, anytime a recipe calls for sweet potato, really, you can put butternut squash in it. That's really basically, they're kind of the same vegetable. I mean, not really, but flavoring. They're in the pumpkin family. You know, when you have sweet potato pie, it could be butternut squash pie. Okay. Just want to make sure any of those fibrous hairs are out. Okay, there we go. Put that aside. Okay, so the one that we're stuffing is just going to go upside down. Easy peasy. The one that we're going to Hasselback, we're actually going to peel. And it's much easier to peel whole, obviously. And you're just going to want to go and take the skin off very gently, all the way along. Not rocket science. So I just think these Hasselback ones turn out so beautiful on the dinner table. We're going to do them with some sage. If you don't have sage, do savory. Just think more flavors, but you could change it up. It doesn't have to be. If your family flavors are different, and that's what these recipes today are going to show you. If your family flavors are different, You don't have to go with the American or the usual sage, savory flavors. Do the flavors that you're used to. Use your palate. If you're Italian, use oregano, basil, anything. Change up the recipes. Use your creative juices. So we're actually going to put this in the oven for about 20 minutes first to let it soften before we start Hasselbacking it. All right, so there we go. That is going into the oven. And actually, I think, yes, I think I'm going to turn it that way because we're going to put something down. All right, so we're going to put this in the oven, both of them. This one is going to cook much longer. Put this in the oven for 20 minutes first. Then we're going to Hasselback it and start putting our seasoning and stuff on it. So now for our stuffed butternut squash, we're going to make some quinoa. Now you could use quinoa, rice, couscous, whatever kind of grain you'd like to use for it. We're just making our stuffing. So I'm actually going to use quinoa because that's been working best for me lately. I was going to do rice, and I was like, no, let's just do some quinoa. So I'm going to do 2 cups of broth, and I just use the better than bouillon, the no chicken, and I just leave that in my fridge, guys. And anytime you're using water, just add a little bit of that to it. Just adds extra flavor. Just gives it a little nuance behind it. Pretty easy. We're going to bring that to a boil. And then we're going to cook 1 cup of quinoa with that. And then once that's cooked, this is what we're going to do to it. We're going to add a can of black beans, a can of diced tomatoes. This one has green chilies. And then I found these at my Aldi. They're Mexican-style corn. And I thought, what a great idea. We'll add a little bit of other flavorings to it, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion powder, and then just mix that. If you wanted to, you could add some vegan shredded cheese on top, and we're going to remelt it. It's going to be delicious. And then whatever you have left over from the mix, you can have it during the week. How easy is that? And so even if you don't do the butternut squash, you can still make this quinoa rice dish and still have that as another dish. So easy peasy, and it's starch solution friendly. And now for our Hasselback butternut squash, I'm starting with about a quarter of a cup or so of the broth that I made, so a little extra. And to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So this is going to be a little bit of a sweeter dish. Actually, you know what? Let me add the brown sugar first before I get my measuring spoon all. So 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And then 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. And you can cut down on the sweetness if you'd like. We're just going to kind of be basting our butternut squash with this as it cooks. But we're adding sage to it. So as it's cooking, we're going to put our sage leaves in between every couple of slices of the butternut squash. It's going to be delicious. And for a little kick, we're going to add some chipotle pepper. Okay, just like a quarter of a teaspoon or so. Just a little sprinkle. Okay. A little bit of salt and pepper. I'm actually just going to add pepper for now, just because I find that the bouillon has enough salt. And if we want more salt, we can put some nice flake salt at the end. Be a really good presentation. Give that a little stir. Oh, it smells so good already. I think I'm actually going to add just a little bit of sage to the mix, just to mimic the flavor, just to bring over the flavors a little bit too onto the glaze. Because the sage is only going to go in a couple of them, so it will permeate some of it, but not all of it. And I do want it to permeate all of it. So I did keep this starch solution friendly. The original recipe that I kind of found that I was mimicking off of had butter and oil, and you can imagine how good that would be, but I just substituted the bouillon instead. Okay, so we're all set. We're just waiting for our butternut squash to come out, And then I'm going to show you how to Hasselback it, and we're going to cook it from there. Hey guys, so last minute kind of improv here. I've decided I'm going to fry up some onions. I actually had some beefless ground beef from Trader Joe's, and I thought that would be awesome to add with the stuffing of the mixture with the quinoa and everything. So, hey, let's just go with that. I know, if you've been here before, I just go with what I have most of the time. And I thought that would be a really good idea. That sounded really good. And whatever's left over again with the stuffing, we can put it in some burritos. I'm going to put that in my garbage bowl so I can put that for my soup stocks. So I'm just going to chop this, just a rough chop. We're going to cook it down. Okay, just going to fry that up. Easy peasy in a frying pan and warm through the meat. That's it. Okay, so the first 20 minutes is up. We've taken it out of the oven, and now we're going to slice our butternut squash. And again, you're going to have to be careful. This is super hot. And so what I normally do is I put little dowels or little marks down beside it. And you just want to do that just so you don't slice all the way through. And then you're going to want to take a very sharp knife. And you're going to want to go, and again, just put them beside. Okay. You're going to want to go like every 1/8 of an inch or so. You can put them as close or as far apart as you want. Obviously, closer is kind of better. I do maybe 1/2 inch. You just want something there so that you're not going to go all the way through to the bottom. And then we're just going to take kind of our sauce or our marinade, and we're going to brush that on. We can take those off. Remember, that's hot. You know I'm going to pick that pan up. Wish you guys were here so you go, don't pick that up, put your gloves back on. So we're just going to brush some of this delicious sauce on. Try to get it all over. And then you can kind of go through your knife. And we're going to kind of keep basting it. Okay. So now, back in the oven, and it's going to cook for at least another probably 30 minutes until it's cooked all the way through. And you'll know when this one is cooked through. Kind of easy that way. But you want it obviously to be all the way cooked through. But we're going to keep basting it. I'm going to keep basting mine probably every 5 to 10 minutes just because I want it to be really nice and golden. Okay, so our butternut squash that we're going to use for stuffing is ready. It's golden brown. It's very tender. So we're going to take that one out. The one that we're using for our Hasselback is still cooking. We're just going to turn this over. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Just going to put that on a platter. We're going to put that one back in the oven, and we're still basting it. It's still going to need, it is getting tender. We just want it to be nice and super tender. Okay, so probably another 10, 15 minutes. We're going to let that cool just for a second, and then we're going to finish up our stuffing for it. Now it's time to assemble our stuffing for our butternut squash. So again, this is a lot of stuffing, depending on, obviously cut back on the recipe. But this freezes great. You could freeze it in individual. You could use it as a meal prep. So I have my crumbles, the beef crumbles and the onions. I did add a little bit of garlic when I cooked this up. And again, the recipe will be down below, guys, so no worries. If you didn't have the crumbles, you could use TVP. You could leave it out and just fry up some onions. Make it as easy or as complicated as you want it. We have our quinoa, which is light and fluffy. We're going to add that in. Have our black beans, and this is just 1 can of rinsed black beans, a can of corn. Again, this is a Mexican style corn. If you didn't have it, use plain corn. You could also change up the flavors if you wanted something more traditional. If you're doing like a Thanksgiving thing, you could just use regular corn and tomatoes and then switch it up with savory and sage and the traditional flavors, and then our diced tomatoes. There we go. Mix that all together. Colors are fabulous. Give it a good stir. So again, you have a lot here. This does make a lot, so you're going to end up storing it. It freezes beautifully, so freeze most of it, half of it, divide it up. Great for meal prep. Put it in your burritos, your tacos, have it for breakfast. You could add some tofu to it. Well, you already have your meat crumbles in it, but you could add tofu and add it to tofu scramble in the morning. Okay. And so we're just going to add this into our beautiful squash that we have. See it there? You know what? Let me give it a try. Always taste your food. I think it might need some flavoring. I'm going to add a little bit of cumin, a little bit of chili powder, so the tomatoes do give it a nice little kick. And a little bit of smoked paprika. You could use a taco seasoning. Oh, you know what? I actually have taco seasoning already done. There we go. Let's just use taco seasoning. Use whatever. I like things a little on the more plain side. My husband likes things a little more spicy, so we try to find a happy balance. But yes, you could just use some cumin, some chili powder, add a little cayenne pepper if you wanted a little more heat. Add the flavors that you like, but this base with the black beans and the corn, you can put whatever flavorings you want in it. Yeah, I might tweak it a little bit as we go, but good for now. We're just going to add some of this deliciousness into our butternut squash. Some of it cascade onto the plate. Center it a little bit. There you go, guys. That's our first one. Isn't that delicious? No fat, just high fiber, starch solution friendly, and gorgeous. I can't wait to dig into this. Our Hasselback butternut squash is done. You have to be careful. Again, it's hot. And it may stick a little bit just because of the brown sugar and the maple syrup. Yep, we're going to have some stickage. Well, you're just going to have to be really careful as you take it up. Guess we're going to take this up because I ended up cutting through it. So we'll do it in pieces. Not so bad. Remember, this is hot, very, very hot. And then you're going to want to just take some fresh sage. Now you could fry your sage if you want. I like it just fresh, just to decorate the plate. And I just go in every second or third one. You can also do this about 5 minutes before you take it out of the last time that you baste it. Just to let the sage kind of permeate your butternut squash. Here we go. Isn't that great for your table? Look how gorgeous that is. And potatoes don't have to get all the fun. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I always enjoy doing them for you. And I love to show you how great vegan food can be. So if you've enjoyed this, hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this a big thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one.